Hey, what's happening everyone? Pragmatic Addict here. So, I just got back from seeing the new Disney film Wish. So I'm just gonna get a few important things out of the way. I am a Disney fan at heart, but when it comes to modern Disney, like films by Disney today with all the CGI and even like the latest status of Pixar and everything, admittedly it does take a little bit for me to actually jump at a Disney film to be really genuinely excited for one nowadays. But this film actually had a few major and pretty significant details to it. So first off, the idea, I guess, not so much the premise, but the idea behind this movie is that it is actually inspired by and celebrating the 100-year anniversary of Walt Disney Pictures. And the main inspiration behind this film is actually Wishing Upon a Star, the major theme that goes all the way back to the beginning of Disney films, you know, like Wishing Upon a Star, things like Pinocchio, and even in the Disney logo, like seeing the little thingy go across. That thing. Another major thing, though, was that I heard some time back that there were reports surfacing that Disney was actually going to be working and going back to the roots of hand-drawn animation for the future work. And that is not only, like, when it comes to animation, my favorite thing about animation, but that is actually just Disney for me. When I think of Disney, I think of hand-drawn animation. And while this film is not wholly in hand-drawn animation, it actually features, like, a mixture, a blend of hand-drawn animation with CGI. I do think that that is a step in the right direction, and if anything, actually pretty interesting. I was really curious to see how that would actually play out on the big screen with this film. And to my surprise, this movie is just a solid 95 minutes. So with enough on the table for me to actually be excited for this movie, but also like as a Disney movie, a modern Disney, going in a little bit weary, I think that this was probably the most ready I could have been for a Disney movie. So I was just really curious to see what this event, this celebration about like Disney was gonna bring to the table. So without further ado, guys, let's just sit and talk about Wish. So the plot about this movie, what it reads is actually really simple. It reads, a 17-year-old girl wishes upon a star to help save Roses, which is her land, this Disney World, after sensing a coming darkness. So I'm gonna get right to it and just bust all your balls. I was not a fan of this movie. So I'm gonna talk about the very first thing, and probably like, if not the most important thing, one of the most important things. The animation with this film. I was, again, really curious. I thought that this would be a step in the right direction. I was really interested to see how the hand-drawn animation style was going to come back with that mixture of still incorporating CGI. And I'm going to be completely honest, guys. Just seeing the actual animation play out in the final product of this movie, seeing it on the big screen, in a dark theater, it's really awkward. It just didn't flow right. It felt a little bit cheap. It almost like resembled what you can expect out of like a cheap animation movie that no one really cared about. Maybe just like one of those like Uncanny Valley animation movies, for example. Also, this event, this movie that I was hoping it would be in its short 95-minute runtime, it starts off very cliche and bland to the point where it just reminded me so heavily of like a ripoff of the original Shrek's intro, where it shows like the storybook and the narration. It's giving you like just like a vague description of what the movie's gonna be about, that classic like fairy tale thing. And all I'm gonna say is that in this aspect, just with its delivery, it just felt very like lazy in that we don't have to try very hard with this part in that kind of way. And also, like, once the movie started, seeing what the final product of the animation was going to be, seeing and feeling how bland and generic this movie, like, its final result was actually going to be. This was a Disney movie where I was like, okay, I've heard some of the music, and I know, like, the music is a massive aspect when it comes to Disney films. That's, like, more or less one of the bigger things that makes them stand out, that people, like, look forward to. And it was like right at this moment where I was like, I feel like more or less all they're really gonna care about is like the music numbers. But goddamn, guys, for a love letter and like a celebration to Disney and like this kind of callback to essential Disney films, supposed to be like the prequel to the whole essential Disney universe, not only did this not feel special, but this movie, it was just so fucking bland. This is a Disney film where I could have been like, yes, I'm in agreement. This film could be fine just being dumped onto Disney Plus. None of the animation stuck out or like popped. It didn't feel natural. None of the characters felt memorable or original. They weren't fun. They were all just kind of hammy and like cliche and just generic and lukewarm. And even the story, it just didn't really do anything to actually grab you. It was just kind of there like everything else in this movie. And in all brutal honesty, up to this point, I was actually really cool with this film just being 95 minutes because this film was just boring so far. Like, I was cool with this being a shorter film. But going back to it, I was correct with my prediction of the music number. So I don't know where I'd like put it in comparison to like classic Disney films or just even other modern Disney films like Tangled or Frozen, but what I will say is that as an aspect of like a modern Disney movie, not only is like the music in general just one of the stronger standouts of the film, but just as a sequence, how it's paced and even like the animation during these sequences, it is all like the best that the movie brings to the table. But going back to the shorter runtime of the movie, just the movie in general, it just feels like it did the bare minimum to get by. Even just the opening sequence where we're seeing the intro and like the setup to the main character Asha and the villain King Magnifico, it's just, I swear to God, it is the most dullest, simplistic, and just quickly established setup that I've seen in a Disney movie in, if not ever, a very fucking long time. And just even following like the main character in her Disney adventure, like just this film as a Disney movie, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, like I get it, but it's very basic. It's very just not try hard. It's one of those things where it's like, I get it and I understand it for what it is, but it's just not earned. It's not very climatic at all. And sadly, this is honestly just the entire movie. It doesn't spend very much time on one thing before going to the next. And if it does, it just feels very lukewarm compared to like what this film should be to its like stature. This film just didn't feel like it tried very hard. It felt like it just did the bare minimum to get by. Again, it's a film that I could have actually agreed just be dumped onto Disney Plus. And overall, I'll give Wish a mixed review. Guys, there are a lot of films coming out the week of this movie. We got Napoleon, we got Dream Scenario, we got Saltburn, which is the one I'm really excited for. Cannot wait to review that one in just a couple days, but for a Disney movie and for the hype and like premise behind this one, I can't believe I'm saying this, but just skip on this movie. It's one of the weakest Disney films I've seen in a very long time. But with all that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. These were just my quick thoughts on Wish after I got out of my early screening. Just a very underwhelming film for me. But with all that being said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next review of Saltburn in just a couple days. With all that being said, guys, take care, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.